You remember Jim Palm? He pulled out the newspaper, the local paper from Martinsburg, and he said, "Historic Shenandoah Hotel goes up for auction and no one bids." So I asked him, I said, "Well, who owns it?" He said, "This architect across the river on McLean." So he came over and brought an appraisal that said it was worth $1 million, and the minimum bid that he said he would accept was $200,000. So I said, "Well, at that price, if it's still there," he said, "I'll buy it." So I went in got my computer and I typed up a proposal for him, and we signed the deal, and I think I paid $185,000 for it. 56,000 square feet under roof. So right in the heart of town. That's ground zero. It's half a block away from the city hall, a block and a half away from the train station down to Washington. It's near I-81. It's a great location for the city. You know, it needed a lot of work, and there were about 500 pigeons flying around in there. It was like a scene from the Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's movie. And when we were cleaning all that crap off the floor, and I mean, it was like stacked up a couple of feet thick. It was like sloshing through the, snow. And we had a lot of cleaning up to do to get it clean enough to walk around in there. And we had to get a special trapper to come in and trap them and then go release them further away outside the town. Some of them came back. They figured out how to get back. We had to take them again. But we got them pretty well cleaned out and boarded up the windows, and then we had the asbestos guys come in and take all the asbestos off the pipes and get that all that stuff out of there. That was very expensive, a couple $100,000 to do that. And then started remodeling it and restoring it. The restoration of the facility, the lobby and the banquet room and the ballroom and the kitchen, took a lot of money to do that, to get new chandeliers, find old antique chandeliers and hang them back in the building, and to restore the painting so it would look, sort of more like it was in the early days, and bring up the facility to code. You need to redo the electrical system, the plumbing system, the elevator system. All those things have to be redone and made whole again and made working again. The parking lot was, it was like $250,000 to dig it up and put in a grease trap, a huge grease trap for the kitchen. You have to do that before you fix the parking lot. Of course, the roof was shot, and we had to put a new roof on it, which was, I think it's about a 13,000 square foot footprint. It's about $5 a foot, so it's $65,000. And all of that, it took like 2 years to do that. Especially if you're on the historic registry and you want to restore the building to its former grandeur, you get a lot of tax breaks for doing that. But even just to make the town better, there's tax breaks rebates from the federal government, from the state government, the city government, the county government, and they're having all kinds of reasons to give you money if you do it. The money you get on remodeling the Shenandoah to turn it back into a hotel. If you want to do that, there's about $2 million worth of tax credits you can get, and you get it up front before you build it, and you can use that funds to do the building with. So it might cost $4 million to get it up into an operating hotel. Half of the cost is taken care of by the tax credits. And in fact, if you use all of those different tax credits, you probably give you more than that. It's a great system. It stimulates developing old buildings that otherwise wouldn't get done. Well, I think it is about $5 million to do it all in a nice way. You do it in a period of like 2 years and do it all at one time. Plan it well and then implement it. Well, they've had 3 or 4 movies done there, and one of them, Gods and Generals, they did that movie, and they did, but there were 2 or 3 other movies that were filmed there. Almost every year we have some movie making done by people from up in New York City and out in LA and up in Chicago. But the last set done last year was they were filming the making of the mob, how the mob got started, and they were using the Shenandoah for 2 months of filming the interior of that. Every fall we have somebody come through and spend a couple of weeks filming some piece of a movie or a movie there. Right now, you know, you could, I would sell it for $1.2 million and I've got $2.5 million roughly in there invested, and I'd take a loss and sell it and take the money and go do something else with it. But if you don't do anything to it at all and wait 5 years, it'll be worth, I'd say the market value of that would probably be $2-3 million, maybe more. And in terms of then dollars, it would be more than that, because inflation is going to push those things up, I think. If once it's built and operational and you're selling it as condos, if you get the right businesses and things going on in Martinsburg, it's going to be a big demand. You're going to need a hotel downtown, need a train station like that, and it's probably worth $20 million. It's a wild guess as to what it's worth. It depends on the parameters and the time. But I think this is the time you'd be buying. In retrospect, if I knew that recession was going to happen, I wouldn't have bought it then. I'd have waited and be looking at it, buying it now, because this is now sort of the best price deal you could get. You have to be young enough or have a big enough organization to keep it going during the next decade, because the value is there for into the future. The airports get clogged up, and then they need more places for planes to land and unload cargo, and it must be I think it's very difficult right now for the freight airlines to deliver enough stuff to. As more and more people are doing, you know, more acquiring stuff from Japan and South America and bringing it in, you need a lot of capacity to handle all that stuff. And so I think sooner or later, Martinsburg will, you know, they'll resurface that idea and do it there too, because they've got an airport that Senator Byrd got like $10 million to extend the runways for the airport to handle C-5A transports, and they built a whole bunch of warehouses near the airport to put all that stuff in, to break it down and transship it to different places like Baltimore and Washington and places. So they've got all the infrastructure they already paid for, so it'd be a shame not to use it. I'm sure they'll come back to using it sometime. They were going to do the same thing to Martinsburg, turn it into a big tourist facility and bring trains full of people up from Washington, let them walk around the cities, have a dinner, you know, go to a play, and then go back home. And they got all that pretty much done, almost all done, and then the recession hit, and all of the bets were off, and they had to stop. And Senator Byrd died, and he was the number one money raiser for Martinsburg. He was good at that. Yeah, the locals have been talking about, the real estate agents have been talking about the number of people from the GSA, Government Services Administration, how they're scouting around for places to have a mini Pentagon, because they want something beyond the blast radius of Washington, where you have a duplicate facility for all of the different branches of the service that are doing different specialized things. So they want to put a mini Pentagon somewhere out that far away from Washington, and Martinsburg was one of the top priority places to try to do that. Thing around it will go up in value. It's like the tent pole that raises all of the restaurants would want to be around the hotel, and the movie theaters or whatever they have would be there, and art galleries and come around, and it's like Old Town Alexandria, you know.